The views, information, and opinions expressed during the following program are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent the views of Access Communications, its representatives, or its employees.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We will call this regular council meeting of January 22nd to order. First of all, under presentations, we have none this evening. Could I have a motion, please, to adopt the agenda as presented? Thank you. Councillor Walliser, seconded by Councillor Clark. Ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, could I have a motion, please, to accept the minutes of the council meeting held on January 8th of 24? Thank you. Councillor Vrogas, seconded by Councillor Frank. Ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under original communications, delegations, and petitions, we would like to welcome the Estevan Curling Club, and we're going to talk about renovations. Tyler, would you like to introduce your group, and we can commence?
Sure. Thank you, Your Worship, and council members and staff for having us. With me is Devin Fornwall. He's the Vice President. Pauline Zeal-Grimsrud is our club manager for many years. I'm the president this year of the club. Ms. Waller, Council Walliser, is our representative from council on our board of directors. Renovations is the topic we're invited in for. It's a little different for us because normally we always met with Rod or whoever the manager was, and so we are thankful that you invited us in, and it's a little different format, but we want to share what we have here with you. The agreement back in 2018 where council gave direction to use our rental money to go towards renovations. In 1920, we put it towards windows and different upgrades to our facility to try to prolong the life expectancy for the facility. In 21, I think it was, or in that range, our biggest project so far is that east addition on the east end of the building, which is our ice scraper room and water tanks to clean that up and give us more space for our maintenance and ice preparation work. So 4 years of rent, it was kind of the agreement, here's my understanding of it, to go towards that project over the 4 years. So we're now to the point where our long-term planning, we have our next project. We're hoping that council get on board is the kitchen. The kitchen we feel is in desperate need of an upgrade. Every year when the health inspector comes through, there's always questions and that kind of stuff of when we can do that. So what we did is we did get some schematics type done. We had a professional person come in and do some plans, kind of what it might look like, with the idea that we'd reuse as much as we could out of it. It's just to clean it up, make it more worthwhile and last a little longer. So that's why we're here. We know that the 2024 budget's in already, so the plan's in. I think it was in your package that you're able to kind of see what we've done so far. You've had a chance to look at it. Pauline can answer questions of anything rising out of that. The only, I guess, question when we looked at Trudy's report here is with the records we have, we did, or by the looks of it, we did pay for the 2019 rent. We haven't missed any year, so I don't know if...
I can look again.
I can give you this evening, Trudy. I have the council checks here. Okay, thank you.
So the stage of our process and with Councillor Walliser is to bring it to council, I guess, to get blessing to move to the next step where we'd like to get quotes for a project, and with that we'd be able to see what granting there is to help offset that, and then of course being your final year of your term and the budget in, we would look at finding out who the best person is with the city or city manager to meet with to try to get it in the budget when the new council's in place in the fall. Okay. And then look for, I guess, an upgrade for 2025 unless there's an opportunity for sooner, but we understand that your budget's in for the year, so we're just looking for blessing to move forward with it if you're okay with that, and start getting quotes and still working towards what it's going to look like, I guess, cost-wise, that we can come back for the budget process in the fall and move forward.
Thank you, Tyler and Devin and Pauline for coming tonight. We'll open the floor. Councillor Walliser, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks for coming in tonight. Can you just tell us a little bit more about how this fits your strategic plan and what the club would be able to do or offer that you can't currently?
You better in this one, Pauline?
Okay.
Just with the history of it, I guess?
Sure. Our canteen/kitchen area in the inn has not been renovated. It's original from 1972 when it was put in. So the need to update, we have plumbing that freezes frequently. We have countertops that are barely meeting sanitary requirements. There's nothing we can do to them to make them better. So we're looking at some physical upgrades that need to happen. And as far as part of our strategic planning is, we did a strategic plan with Curl Canada with their assistance about 14 years ago, and we're slowly getting down the list. And so we have a couple things left on our list, and so it was the board's decision at the curling club a few years ago that the ice makers room was a priority. So we made that the priority. So now that we've done that and it's been excellent, our next priority was to deal with the kitchen. And within that kitchen, we need to deal with the reality of serving quality food in a quick process. We need a place that can be sanitary. So our next project is to do the kitchen.
Okay, are you done, Councillor Walliser? Okay, Councillor Vrova, please.
Thank you, Worship, and thank you for coming in this evening. So I was just curious, with this kitchen, how do you guys foresee it working? Because right now you have it contracted out, or someone else does the kitchen canteen for you, right? You guys don't do it presently?
Actually, we did for the first half of the season. For the second half, we're actually looking after it ourselves.
Oh, okay.
As a board and the volunteers under the direction of Pauline, because she's the one with the food safe requirements. So no, we are trying something a little different through the board. So through the season where we have it, so with Christmas parties or the Curl Sask events or any kind of OTS that'll come up in the spring, we'll look after that as a board.
Okay, and that's how you foresee it. If you got the new kitchen, you guys would man it, run it. It would be a revenue generator for the curling club?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And then how do you foresee working with other groups? Because again, the curling club has it from, say, September 1st to April, or March 31st, April 1st. Outside of those dates, how do you foresee that kitchen?
I foresee it that it's a city building, and when you have it in the off-season and you have weddings or sportsman dinners or whatever you have, that it's there for if they choose to use it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, any other members of council? Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to clarify, you're just looking for the okay to go get pricing, and for next year that you would start with your $30,000. Do you have any current money that you could put forward to this at all, or is it strictly going to be on the city paying for it, and then you just taking the $30,000 off each month, or each year, I'm sorry?
That is my understanding from previous boards is that the original agreement or whatever is that $30,000 each year goes towards that project. So if it is approved, then if it takes 5 years to cover that or repay that, then that's the monies that would go towards that, minus the granting that the club would have access to as a organization.
Just to follow up, a kitchen renovation can be extremely expensive. If it came to like $250,000, would you want that paid for and just nothing over the next 8 years, or do you have a round figure what you're thinking this will cost, like any kind of approximate amount?
You know, we haven't went forward, Councillor Clark, with any budgetary. We have no idea what this is going to cost at this point. So we'd obviously be coming back for a conversation. We just want to prioritize this as our next step in doing the renovations and keeping the facility up to a standard that it can be used. So I can't answer you how much that would be. Of course, we're really focusing on, I have 3 grants targeted, but I cannot go ahead with them until I have a quote of what the kitchen will cost.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Frank.
Thanks, Your Worship. I know the bathrooms is another one that desperately needs to be updated at the building, correct? Or no, that's been done?
That's been done. No, that's been done, so they're accessible. Yeah.
Okay, good. Nope, that was kind of my biggest concern, is that we don't have any other. So then, is there with that, I know we've done a few other upgrades over the years that have definitely brought the building up. Is there any other major kind of deficiencies in the building, or this is kind of the last big hurdle of big ones anyways?
I would say this is probably the next big one, but the last big one that I can think of, other than
aside from the building will continue to age and things will continue, but like
done it with the windows and the
then.
railings to make it safer, and the bleachers are gone that people we didn't want seniors to fall off of, that type of thing. So
nope, that's good to hear.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cernak, then Councillor Vrob.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks for coming tonight. What kind of revenue are we talking about? Like, what's the revenue of the kitchen now? And kind of what would be the guesstimate of what we'd be looking at after the renovations?
Well, it's our hope that this year we brought in more New Year's Eve parties and also the Christmas parties and things, that we would be generating more money off of that. We've actually only taken this over since January 1st, so I probably don't have a lot of numbers to give you, but I know that we've already did one youth event and it went over very well, and our numbers were on the positive side in our canteen just from that. We do have a couple rentals that are coming in that aren't currently related upstairs, so I'm anticipating by the end of March we'll actually have an idea of the extra generation of funds we'll have for the curling club with that, and also looking into the future now that we have decided that the curling club is going to run the kitchen. We'll do a budgeting next year to see what kind of monies we can generate for the club with it. I would anticipate, we would be, in hopefully 15,000 or more.
Okay, Councillor Vrob.
Thank you, Worship. I was just going to speak to what Councillor Frank said with the bathrooms. I think one of the biggest problems with the bathrooms over there is they're probably suitable for the curling club's needs. Because any large events that you guys do bring, basically go to the Affinity Place, or you know what I mean, you have more bathroom facilities available. But when the city rents that facility out during the spring and summer months, the bathroom facilities are not suitable. People are having to bring in porta potties, and basically there's lineups out the door. So I think the bathrooms should be on the city radar coming up. The other thing is public health report. I tried to find it online, I couldn't find one. Do you have a copy of that latest public health report for you?
I will have to look for it.
Okay, yeah, if you do, that'd be great. I'd be interested to see. I mean, I agree that the kitchen is in need of repair. I'm just not sure where in the next 4 years it'll fall, especially with the next council. So this is kind of something that I think we may need to just discuss it too with management and find out if it should be the curling club that renovates the kitchen, or should it be the city of Estevan that renovates the kitchen, or is it a joint project? So I don't know if I'm prepared tonight to make the recommendation that you guys go ahead and actually go looking for designs, or if we just need to make sure we have another meeting or two before. Because I'd hate to see you guys spend money, because it does cost money usually to get someone to design that. Is that what you're thinking, is spending the money to design, or?
The design is already done.
So this design, but that's what I'm saying though, is what if the city, because it is a city-owned building, if the city isn't in favor of this design, that's what I'm saying, is it would be hard for me to see you guys go spend money to get quotes.
Oh, no, that's why we brought it to you, so that you guys, this is where our jumping off point. Yep.
Right. So I think we just need to make sure that we table this for tonight and bring it back to the management team with Jeff and allow them to go through it and just see where it's at and if everybody's okay with moving it forward.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Ford.
Thanks, Your Worship, and thanks for coming tonight. I really like this kitchen design. I know there's some deficiencies within the curling club building. I mean, from curling there, we find that sometimes there's issues with the canteen if you're hosting events and large events. Again, like everyone said, the washrooms are a difficult thing. Just to note, though, Trudy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, there's still 2 more years to be paid with the upgrade that they did last, or what year was that? Sorry. The building upgrade, there's still $60,000 owing on that, is that correct?
Yeah, and
Ish.
Yes, Councillor Ford. These numbers, they're based on a lot of different things. So Tyler just mentioned that 2020 windows was part of this agreement too with the $30,000. So I didn't have the windows in there. I have all the numbers here for them, but I did not even include them in the total of that addition for that building. So there would be, I would want to do more digging before I.
Okay, and I would personally like to table this tonight because I would like to see what the full amount is owing, because if there's still 2 years left in the rent to pay off another project, that project wouldn't be technically getting started paid for by till 2026 or 2027. So I would like to table this until we get all of our numbers and all of our facts straight, and then maybe we can start looking at prices and stuff, because I kind of feel like we're putting the cart ahead of the horse without having all of our numbers together.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion to table? Okay, Councillor Ford, seconder. You're pointing fingers?
Councillor Cernick.
Oh, Councillor Cernick. Okay, who's, okay. Okay, ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. Thank you all again for coming tonight, and we will keep on communicating. Thank you. Okay, next, under original communications, delegations, and petitions, we have the ECS Challenge Day, March 12th and 13th. The ECS School Community Council, SCC, is reaching out to our valued business community to ask you to consider a financial contribution toward the Challenge Day program that we are excited to bring back to grade 9 students at the Estevan Comp. The last time Challenge Day was offered in Estevan was 2014. So we're excited to bring back this powerful organization to ECS. With all the challenges that our community has faced the past few years, we believe that building a community starts with our youth. Through this program, we believe we can create positive connections between our students and adults within our community. Challenge Day is an organization that has helped young people learn to connect through powerful, life-changing programs in their schools and communities. Challenge Day program provides teens and adults with tools to tear down the walls of separation, inspires participants to live, study, and work in an encouraging environment of acceptance, love, and respect. Using highly interactive and energetic activities, Challenge Day leaders guide teens on a carefully designed exploration of the ways people separate from each other and model tools for creating connection and building community. As a council, we feel passionately about developing and building connections between the community and the students of ECS. One of our council's guiding principles is to be responsive to the needs and aspirations of the school community that we represent. We feel that the Challenge Day program aligns with and supports the ECS learning plan, supports community safety and well-being in our community, and is responding to the needs of our school community. The total cost to bring the Challenge Day program to ECS is roughly $20,000. To help fund this program, the School Community Council is excited to launch our cash calendar lottery, as well as raise money through private donations from the Estevan community. If you can donate, please feel free to send a check made out to the Estevan Comp School to the address at the top of this letter, or contact the school to arrange to make payment with cash, credit, or debit. On behalf of the Estevan Comprehensive School and our School Community Council, we want to thank you for any support you can provide toward this important program. And that's Melanie Desnick and James Jones, the principal. What's the wish of council on this? Go ahead, Councillor Walliser.
Thank you, Your Worship. Further down in their letter, they're also requesting that a few city council members attend, as they do rely on about 25 adult volunteers. So I would like to volunteer for either March 12th or 13th.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Ford.
Thanks, Your Worship. We were in a community safety and well-being meeting with Principal Jones the other day, and he's going to be sending out an email in the next week or so, and he's going to have a sign-up list for anybody who wants to attend, and he's already said, hey, city, you should volunteer, so he's going to be looking at us to volunteer.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Vroba.
Thank you, Worship. And I think also in the letter it states that he's asking for specifically 2 councillors per day or 2 city reps. So I would also be willing to put my name forward for one of those days. I'll probably volunteer for both days, but I can represent the city for one, and I'll represent just being there the next day. So.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Vroba. And as to the monies, any thoughts on that from Council? Councillor Frank.
Thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, I was considering the money, and I think if we can give some volunteer support, that would be good. But just we don't have a large fund for giving out to a lot of different groups, and I know they're reaching out to a lot of businesses and stuff like that and doing some fundraising, so I'd be fine with just supporting them volunteer-wise at this point would be my recommendation or my motion.
Okay, thank you. Were you going to make that motion? Oh, okay, thank you. Have we got a seconder? Councillor Vroba. Any further questions, comments? Ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under original communications, delegations, and petitions, we have request exception to allow Wear Red Heart Health proclamation. So, Judy, our city clerk, explained to them that this will have to go through council because they cannot attend in person. And as part of our new requirements, we want people to attend in person when we have a proclamation. So what's the wish of council on this one? Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Your Worship. I'd like to stick to the rules that we have, but I think that we could turn the red lights on the water tower for that day and be a symbol of what they're doing, and it'd be probably some media could go out that explains why it's red on that day, and we could support them in that way. Okay.
Councillor Ford.
Thanks, Your Worship. I would also like to stick to the rules on this. If we've not allowed other people to, if they don't have representation to have a proclamation, then I think we should stick with that. But I haven't quickly looked at this, but in our proclamation, does it allow, or our proclamation bylaw, does it allow Zoom calls to have representation?
In person.
In person, okay. Okay. Yeah, it's maybe we could, I know we've talked through this 100 times in the last year, but maybe we could consider a Zoom thing, because I know there are people things that we've supported over the years that they've never had representation here, that maybe a Zoom call could work.
Okay, I guess it's something, Councillor Ford, we could discuss, because we do allow Zoom with council members if they're out of town. So if that's a wish of council, it's something we could discuss. Okay. So, Councillor Clark, did you want to make that a motion to light up the tower and leave it at that?
I'll do that, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Have we got a seconder? Councillor Ford, ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under original communications, delegations, and petitions, we have from GFL a cart report for December. Average trash cart from December, 16 kilograms. In December, 11,955 carts were emptied for a total weight of 199,760 kgs. Average recycle cart, 6.72 kg. In December, 2,610 blue carts were collected for a total weight of 17,544 kg. Do we have a motion to accept that report? Thank you. Councillor Walliser, seconded by Councillor Clark. Ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under written reports of committees, we have from the Estevan Humane Society the minutes of October, November, and December. Could we have a motion, please, for those? Councillor Cernick, Councillor Ford. Any further questions, comments? Councillor Walliser.
Thank you, Your Worship. I am the council rep on this board as well, and they've been very hard at work offering new incentives, ways to try and get animals out of the shelter and into homes. A big thank you to everybody that did foster over the holidays to try and reduce the number of animals in care. They do still have 49 cats and 10 dogs that they're looking after, which is over capacity still. So they are hard at work on some renovations to be able to support the animals in their care, as well as their Whiskers and Wine Gala coming up on February the 10th. Tickets and tables are still available as well.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Walliser. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under written reports of committees, we have Creighton Lodge meeting minutes. Could we have a motion, please, for that for October, November, and December? Councillor Frank, thank you. Have we got a seconder? Councillor Cernick, thank you. Any questions or comments? Councillor Frank.
I'll just say Creighton Lodge has a comedy night fundraiser coming up right away, and I believe there's still tickets available. Is that correct, Councillor Robo? Yes, good. So tickets available. Contact Creighton Lodge if you'd like to get tickets to it. It's going to be a great night. We have a comedian as well as 2 local country singers, so that's going to be a really great evening and goes to support Creighton Lodge. And hopefully we will have construction on a new kitchen soon. That's the goal, so that will be a pretty big, exciting project for the groups.
Okay, thank you for that. Ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under executive reports, we have from the city manager the 2024 budget. The City of Estevan released the 2024 budget package in the middle of December for public feedback. Over the past month, feedback could be received through the city clerk or the city manager's office. There was very little feedback on the budget, but the following items were brought to city's attention. There was a recommendation from a citizen that the Perkins sidewalk be placed on the north side of the street and run from 3rd Ave to McDonald Road. Concerns about the downtown revitalization project, how it would impact taxes to downtown businesses. The current proposal does not apply any increased levy to downtown businesses. One comment mentions funds for that project should be used for small business tax relief. City administration would like to clarify that this project will only move forward with a significant grant contribution from the federal government. The only portion paid by the city funds would relate to the replacement of the underground utilities. This is estimated to be about $1.5 million out of the total project cost of $8.3 million. Another citizen indicated that small business taxes were too high and that in the 21 reassessment caused some businesses to be unfairly adjusted based on their assessment. There was recommendations to reduce department budgets as well as reduce funding to DBA, library, health, SVM, SVT, etc., in order to provide tax relief to citizens. Okay, so what's the wish of council on the 2024 budget? Councillor Cernick.
I'll get the party started. Thank you, Your Worship. There's lots of things that are good about this budget. I will actually vote against it, although 2% doesn't seem like much. And lots of the inquiries that I had with mostly commercial property owners, they definitely just don't want to see anything. Again, 2021 and the past years, the taxes have went up. And in this budget, I see I see that we have a surplus budget. We're putting down on the debt. And we have money in the bank, so that's just another reason why I'm going to vote against it, just for the fact of the 2% increase. So.
Okay. Councillor Ford.
Thanks, Your Worship. To City Manager, what happens with the money put aside for the boards if the rink is now being discussed in a different manner?
Thank you, Councillor Ford. So that will be, I guess we would leave those in the budget for now, but not commit them to a specific project until the discussion was complete, which we plan to have through January, February, March.
Thank you. This is something I now struggle with since the conversations with the rink have come up, and just hearing some of the feedback from those rink conversations in the rink meeting this past week. I'm having a difficult time seeing that money sit in our budget if we're not going to do anything with it this year, and then still saying we're going to increase our property taxes. Do you suspect that we're going to spend that money this year?
Thank you, Councillor Ford. I guess I don't want to speak for council. So the recommendation from the last council was to get feedback from the user groups. We've started that process. So I guess it's up to council if you want to remove it at this time and then potentially amend it if you want more boards, but that is a council decision. So yeah, I don't want to speak for council on that.
Okay, were you done, Councillor Ford? Yeah, I'm done now. Okay, Councillor Frank.
Thanks, Your Worship. In regards to the 2%, with what Councillor Cernick said, I get that, and I don't think anybody ever wants to see taxes go up. There's been a few things that I know, like Councillor Ford did a good job of kind of bringing up through some other meetings that we did a little bit of investigating, and I believe this year we spent over $200,000 in carbon tax, so that's something we all just want to vomit over, but unfortunately it hits the city just as hard as anything else, as well as we are the only city that has done no tax increase now for the last 4 or 5 years. So that's something that I personally think I could get behind the 2%. However, I did want to just suggest too to Councillor Cernick, you do also have the ability, if you'd like to make the motion, if that's what you choose, to recommend the budget without the tax increase, if that's something you wanted to do. At this point, I would support the tax increase based on the fact that just our expenses keep going up, but I'm never going to say no to nothing either. I think we can find the cuts if needed, if that's what council wanted.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Your Worship. I know that we've had discussions, and we've seen costs increase at the city, and we've been able to work within, and I do think that we have, that we continue to want to do and make our community a little bit of everything for everybody. I mean, we certainly don't take, I don't use this, so let's get rid of that. So we do try to help as many groups as we can to function. And I think the 2% increase does allow us to do the things that we want to do to keep it as a community. And I'm going to support the 2% increase. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Froba, then Councillor Walliser.
Yeah, I think during budget deliberations, we all had a conversation, and I mean, we talked then about the projects that we could cut or whatever we can do, and most of the projects that we have for the 2024 budget, I don't think any of us really seen a need in cutting them. They've all been things that have been on the agenda to get done these last 4 years. The rink boards, possibly if it comes out. I mean, but again, I was on those hockey boards prior to being on city council, and those rink boards were coming up then. So maybe the people who are on the hockey boards right now, or the user groups, aren't seeing that, and if they're not using, but I remember teams coming down here from Regina refusing to play in that rink because those boards were dangerous. So I think if something happens and somebody gets hurt, there's a liability on the city if you know that there's danger there and you don't fix it. So I mean, that's just one. If it comes back and there's investigation and they're not dangerous and they don't need to be fixed, then I'm fine with not fixing them. But I would hate to see that happen, and then it comes back in September of 2024, and we don't have the money in the budget. So I know we have a little bit of debt repayment, but that's also been what we've said since basically 2016, is debt repayment. And I believe at the end of 2024, we're going to have just $10 million in debt. So we've come a far way from being at a SUMA convention and being told how high our debt is getting, which was before my time and most of the people on this council. But anytime a council goes into debt, it's still our burden to carry for the next council. And so I'm going to support the 2% too, because we have not had a lot of tax increases in the city of Estevan. And one of the goals to pay down that debt is so that by 2030, in case we don't get the SMRs, in case the city doesn't see the growth that we're projecting, which we all hope is going to happen, and we're going to work hard to make it happen. In the event that that doesn't happen, we need to make sure that we're in good shape. So the 2%, I will support.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Walliser.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would also like to speak in favor of this budget. I know our administration and our management team have really scraped by year over year to make sure that debt repayment remains a priority and that we continue to offer the same level of service despite collective bargaining agreement increases, despite cost of living index going up, despite the carbon tax. We've really tried to keep in with current spending limits. And so because of that, we used to spend $500,000 a year just on the interest on our debt, and each year that we can stick to the debt repayment plan that administration has given to us frees up additional funds to continue to make investments in the community, and I would like to see that continue.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments? Councillor Fort.
Thanks, Your Worship. And just a note, I mean, we sat in that budget day and I voted on the increase as well. We have had contract negotiations and everything else with our employees that continues, so we can pay our employees a living wage so that they can continue to live in our city and work in our city. So I think that's something that's really important to note when we do look at that increase, because we're also trying to keep the people that work for us happy as well.
Okay, thank you. Have we got a motion? Then go ahead, Councillor Wallis.
I make the motion that we approve the budget as presented.
Okay, thank you. Have we got a seconder? Councillor Vroba, thank you. Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, ready for the motion? All in favor? Opposed? Let it be noted. Councillor Cernick is opposed. Okay. Okay, next, under executive reports, we have City Clerk, leave of absence. City Clerk, did you want to say anything further on that? I don't have anything here. Okay, any questions or comments? Councillor Vroba.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is something that also came up at SUMA. I think it was actually 2019. City Manager Jeff Ward and I were sitting in on a presentation where this came up, and there was other cities that were looking towards developing some type of a policy so that elected officials could take a leave. And I mean, it's come up already this term. Councillor Walliser had a baby when she first was elected, and she's had another one since. She is superwoman, because I could not have done that. And I lost my son this term, and you know, so we had a few things where leaves could have happened, and Councillor Walliser and myself both did not take leaves, even though those events were both blessings and traumatic. And so it. I don't agree with having paid leaves for elected officials, because I do think that we accept this position as elected officials in our community, and I think it's not a job. This is something I do over and above my everyday paid job. If I'm taking a leave of absence from my council position, and I've looked it up, some other cities have paid leaves, I just feel that I think I should be granted a leave if I would have needed it for whatever reason that council deemed also was acceptable. But I don't think that I deserve to be paid for those meetings, because I mean, it says right in some of the other policies or procedures that they're doing where they're allowed to even give up their council commitments. So for those of you that don't realize, council members also have commitments outside of the chambers. So we're on different boards. We represent council and City of Estevan in many different forms. And if I'm not fulfilling those duties, then I don't think that I should be collecting the council per diem, the remuneration that I'm collecting. So but yet I feel like there should be some sort of policy developed so that in the future when this happens, it's set and it's clear, you know, like, and if I would have been offered, say, you know, basically bereavement leave, if you need that, and you can set up somebody to take over your committees, or even I just give it back to administration and say I'm unfit for this at a certain time. Because I do think we need to recognize that council members are human and things are going to happen. And again, having a baby, Councillor Walliser, you amaze me, because you literally scheduled to have your baby in between council meetings, and I think that deserves recognition. So, yeah, that's just my opinion.
So perhaps maybe some more discussion around this?
Yeah, I'd love to hear what everyone else has to say, but that just because, again, I heard about this in SUMA 4 years ago, and I've had a lot of time to think about what I thought of this, and now that it has affected me and other fellow council members, I do think that there should be a policy developed, but I'm against any city council member being paid while not performing their elected duties.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Walliser, and then Councillor Fort, and then Councillor Frank.
Thank you, Your Worship. The 2016 Council Remuneration Report states that personal or family reasons are excluded from the policy, and the existing practice is to address leave of absence requests as they arise, and the recommendation of the report is that we maintain the status quo. I would like to suggest that we can do better than the status quo, that as leaders in the community who serve as elected officials are tasked with setting the direction and creating policy, we should also be supported by a consistent, thoughtful, supportive policy as well. A policy that recognizes the very part-time nature of our position, but also values our humanness and the role we play within the broader community. When I look around this room, we all have people we're accountable to or responsible for. We need to be able to meet those needs while also being accountable to our roles as councillors. In the absence of an updated, well-rounded policy, the responsibility rests fully on the councillor making the request to argue their case and to ask or debate or justify why their request has merit. They would also have to demonstrate that this was unprecedented, as the reasons listed in the report don't reflect a wide variety of family or personal issues. For example, to the best of my knowledge, no one has given birth while serving on City Council in Estevan. I could have missed a meeting or I could have zoomed in, but in the absence of an inclusive policy, either choice could have been viewed as not performing my elected duty, or worse, the next person who has a child while on council could be held up to my experience and asked to come in the same way. Each election cycle, we should strive to expand the experience represented in this room. We should look to elevate the voices in our community that were previously overlooked, cast aside, or excluded from the decision-making table. This can only occur if people believe that they can add the role of councillor to their plate while continuing to balance their other obligations. This could include their own health, their spouse, their parents, or their children, or even a bereavement leave. The policy as is also leaves council in a reactionary state instead of anticipating the need to support our colleagues. Again, using a new baby example, if a new policy were created, then both parents could access support. It's no less important for the non-birthing parent or for an adoptive parent to feel empowered to access support through an existing policy, because an existing policy also gives the inherent position to take that time if needed. To ensure accountability to our taxpayers, it should indicate a delineation between a short leave or an extended leave. It should also make explicit where the additional responsibilities would fall. For example, preparing and attending a council meeting for me was much easier than needing to find a ride to and from my additional meetings as a council rep, since I could not lift or drive following surgery. Without a clear policy, our council-appointed boards are unsure what to do. I did send an out-of-office email to my boards for the 6 days between delivery and my return to work, but even after that, boards would reach out to other council members or just not ask necessary questions because they felt they couldn't bother me and they didn't know if I was back. I propose that we review other cities' leave of absence policies to gain a better understanding of what the scope of our own could be, and that we delineate the process of what a paid or unpaid leave would look like and how the council-appointed boards would be temporarily reassigned.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Walliser. Councillor Ford, then Councillor Frank.
Thanks, Your Worship. Mat leave of absence policy was actually recommended by FCM. I think it was in about 2020, and so a number of municipalities throughout the country have been starting to create that policy. So I think there's a number of policies that we could start to look at for the mat leave policy specifically. In 2021, FCM also completed a report that stated only 28% of city councillors in Canada are women, citing significant barriers for women as opposed to men. And I don't want women in our community to have barriers when considering running for a city council position, and that includes a mat leave. I do know that there's other absences, such as Councillor Veroba stated, and our group is a great group. Had there been any need for anybody to take a leave of absence during the last 4 years of our term, I think all of us would have been amenable to that. But I know in the past, looking at the history of other city councils and city council groups throughout the city of Estevan, that might not have been the case, right? We're a great group, we're a great working group, but I know there's been times where that might not have been the case, and then you would have been forced forced to come and do your duty when you're not fit for work. So I do agree that we should have some sort of policy surrounding all of these what-if situations, because they do happen, and they happen to absolutely everybody, whether you kind of like it or not, unfortunately. So I would be happy to help work on this policy and give my information that I found about the mat leave policies and help work towards something.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Ford. Councillor Frank?
Thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, and I just wanted a couple things just for the public watching this, wondering, there is within our current bylaw, obviously if we miss more than 3 meetings consecutively, we can, there's a number of consequences beyond just losing pay, which is not the reason any of us are here. We're not making riches about this. But a good example, Councillor Wolliser kind of touched on it, is adoption, which is something my wife and I are doing. We could be still selected as early as tomorrow, and with things going well in another country, we'll be back home in 2 weeks. If things don't go well, which does tend to happen, we could be back in 3 months, which would cause issues and would require something. So, I mean, some sort of plan for a situation like that would be appreciated, just to know, okay, what does this look like? I do completely agree with Councillor Verova on I don't think it needs to be a paid term, and I would also, I don't know what other cities are doing, but I'd love to see it. But I know a lot of times when these have been created, and even when we go back to SUMA when this was brought up, they were kind of referring more to like a full year, like as if a full-time job, which obviously in larger cities, council is a full-time job, and that seems necessary. Here, that is not the case, so I don't think we're talking a year or long-term. I think we just need to have some sort of process in place. So, okay, what is an appropriate amount of time for these situations that we can feasibly let you off without having to come back and ask for an extension or anything like that? So that there's something in place so that, yeah, somebody in this situation can quickly take that without feeling any guilt or obligation, and continue to operate. So I'd like to see something, some information anyways, and we can work on something over the next couple months and put it in place.
Sure, I'm sure collectively we can put something together, and I hope you're not going to a war-torn country.
No, just, well, the United States, so it depends who you ask, would be the answer to that question.
Okay.
But, no, so.
Okay, thank you.
I guess if there's a motion needed, I would make the motion that we would pursue pursue more information and draft a policy to be brought back to council. So.
Okay, thank you. Have we got a seconder for that? Councillor Surdick? Okay. Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under executive reports, we have from the treatment plant manager, water treatment plant manager, the water quality report for December of 23. And everything looks great. Do we have a motion to accept that, please? Thank you, Councillor Walliser. Seconded by Councillor Clark. Any further questions, comments? If not, ready for the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Under introduction of bylaws this evening, we have none. Public hearings and reports, we have none. Giving notice, no notice this evening. Motions from committee, none this evening. Consideration of bylaws, none this evening. Inquiries. Councillor Verova.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to say congratulations to everyone involved in putting on the production of The Little Mermaid. My husband, myself, my daughter, my granddaughter all went to the play, and I did not tell my husband it was Little Mermaid till we were actually entering the comp school, and he enjoyed it. And so, yeah, no, kudos. I mean, Sherry Haberstock, we work out with her at Encompass, and she is a great lady, great principal, and she was in the production. She did wonderful too, but even the one lady that I thought was a teacher, but I found out after she was a student, very talented. So kudos to everybody involved. I hope they did wonderful at the end when they counted up all the funds to make sure they have enough for another production in 2 years, I believe they said, is every 2. It's really good to see that, so good job.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Verova. Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Your Worship. I too attended that, and congratulations to all the all the students that participated and all of the people that were there, so that was quite enjoyable. Also, the council is going to the Legion to play bingo. I think we've got about 4 of us that will be there. We did that last year, just as a support for that group that does so much in the community. They're kind of the hub for people to go and use their facilities for so many different things. So I think it's good that we're going to go back there and have a little fun and enjoyment on Thursday night this week, and anybody that could join us would be certainly welcome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Clark. Councillor Willeyser.
Nothing tonight, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Ford.
Thanks, Your Worship. I also attended the musical. It was absolutely awesome. I was kind of singing along, much to my people sitting beside me didn't want that, but that's okay. But a big congratulations to ECS. It was a great show. And just a big thank you to all those who worked hard to keep us warm and safe during this cold stretch. It's been a tough couple weeks. I know the sun didn't shine some days and it was so cold you couldn't go outside, so just a big appreciation to all of our energy workers on that week or week and a half.
Absolutely, thank you for that. Yeah, thank God for the coal miners and the coal burning power plants. We were good to go. In fact, if we hadn't given Alberta 100 megawatts, they would be in the dark. So yeah, that worked out fine. Councillor Cernak.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just want to kind of thank every citizen that I had a lot of dialogue with over the past couple of months, whether it be Power Dodge Center or the budget. There's been lots of good, like I said, lots of good dialogue over the last couple of months, and seems to be everywhere. We're on Coffee Row and everything like that, so as long as they're talking about you, you're doing your job. Thank you.
Right on. Thank you. Councillor Frank.
Thanks, Your Worship. I just wanted to ask for City Manager if we can get our social media team just putting out a little reminder of what streets are which priority for snow removal. I know we have priority 1, 2, and 3, and kind of what that timeline usually looks like on a big snowfall, small snowfall. I think we have something that's already been done up in previous years just to reshare, just because I had some requests for extra snow removal. The City Manager had some requests for less snow removal, so it's nice to just get everybody aware of what kind of our standard practices that we've always followed and keep everybody on board and what they're supposed to do.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Frank. City Manager, any comments tonight? None? City Treasurer, what happened to our City Treasurer?
Still talking.
Was it something we said? She bolted? Okay, City Clerk?
Nothing, Your Worship.
Okay, do we have a motion to move into committee, please? Councillor Ford? Seconded by Councillor Frank. Ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. We stand adjourned. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
If you'd like to share your feedback on the program you just watched, contact us today